Good morning, my dear students. So this is our third week for our grade 7 science. During the previous meetings, we have discussed regarding matter. For this week, we will be focusing on classifying substances as elements or compounds. In this slide, we can see pictures of objects like silver cup, sugar, aluminum can, table salt, and water. Later on, we will see the relationship of these objects to our lesson. What is an element? An element is the simplest form of a substance that retains the properties and characteristics of that substance. Examples of elements. So we have here carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. An element is a substance that is made from one kind of atom only. It cannot be broken down into simpler substances. So we have here the illustration of an element. At present, there are 118 chemical elements established. Of these, over 90 occur naturally on Earth, while the rest are synthetically prepared and developed in science laboratories. Of the naturally occurring elements, the most abundant in the universe is hydrogen. It is estimated to make up about 75% of the mass of the universe. Oxygen and silicon together account for almost 75% of the mass of the Earth's crust. Carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen comprise about 90% of the human body. What is the periodic table of elements? The periodic table is a table listing all the elements in an organized form. The periodic table is organized by the similar characteristics of the elements. Elements are listed in order of increasing atomic number. This slide shows the periodic table of the elements. The periodic table is a useful way to arrange elements. The vertical columns are called groups. The horizontal rows are called periods. Elements in the same group have similar properties. 3/4 of the elements are metals. 1/4 of the elements are non-metals. Rules for chemical symbols in the periodic table. Number 1. The symbol is usually the first one or two letters of the name. Second, sometimes the old Latin name is used. Third, the first letter of a symbol is always a capital letter. Fourth, the second letter of a symbol is always a small letter. And fifth, every element has a different symbol. Now look in your periodic table and find name that corresponds to the following symbol. Fe for iron, Mg for magnesium, Ag for silver, K for potassium, C for carbon, Al for aluminum, Na for sodium, N for nitrogen, Ne for neon, and O for oxygen. In this slide, we can see the different chemical formulas for the different substances, or what we call as compounds. So what is a compound? A compound is a substance that is made from more than one element. So this is the representation of a compound. A compound can be broken down into elements. Compounds are pure substances composed of two or more different elements joined by chemical bonds, made up of elements in a specific ratio that is always the same, has a chemical formula, and can only be separated by chemical means, not physically. Chemical changes in compounds happen when chemical bonds are created or destroyed. Forces act on the bonds between atoms, changing the molecular structure of a substance. You can pour liquid acid on a solid and watch the solid dissolve. That process is a chemical change because molecular bonds are being created and destroyed. We have here examples of compounds. Water with the chemical formula of H2O, table salt, NaCl, carbon dioxide with the chemical formula of CO2, and sugar with the chemical formula of C6H12O6. That ends my discussion. Let's have a recap of our lesson. Element is the simplest form of matter that has a unique set of properties. An element cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical means, while a compound is a substance that contains two or more elements chemically combined in a fixed proportion. I have prepared activities for you to analyze and answer. For activity number 1, you have to give the name for each of the element symbols below. For activity number 2, you have to give the symbol for each named elements below. For activity number 3, you have to classify each of the following as to whether it is an element or compound. For activity number 4, you have to choose the letter of the correct answer. 2 points for every correct answer. Let me end my presentation with this quotation. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue. That is from Walt Disney. Once again, thank you for listening and God bless us all.